I hate videos. Now, you may be wondering, if I hate videos, what the heck am I doing here? Woohoo! Happy Friday, everyone. It is Friday, the first Friday of June. So, June 2nd. And I am excited because I get to spend some time with you. Um, if you and I haven't met yet, my name is Inga van Roy, and I am recognized as a connection catalyst. What that means is I help entrepreneurs develop a strategy so that they can stand out and connect with their ideal community. So if you're watching live, please drop us a comment and let us know where you are. And also, if you see somebody in the comments that you have not connected with, please go ahead and do so because this is the space to do it in. There are heart centered individuals that are here, and that's the people that you want to meet, nobody else. We don't want all the things on the periphery, do we? Anyway, I'm excited because today is the first Friday of June, and we will do a slight recap for the month of May. May, as many of you should know or would know, is it was actually Stroke Awareness Month. So today, our episode is entitled Stroke Insights, and we will be talking to some amazing people that are part of my community that have survived strokes. I feel like we need a moment of silence because that speaks so much to me of resilience and tenacity. And really, hats off to these people that we will be meeting and chatting with. So, yes, drop us a comment, let us know where you are and who you are. And we will definitely make that part of the conversation. Remember, on Inspiration from Inga, the conversation is not just between myself and my guest, it is also between all of you who's there in the audience with us. So, without further ado, let me bring on the first person, and we'll go like we said by ladies first. So, welcome, Katie.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks, Inga, for having me again.
It's my pleasure. Morning. Thank you for being here. Won't you please tell people who you are and what you do?
My name is Kati McDermith, and I work for Manufacturers News. I've been with them for a little over 10 years, probably about 11 years now, and I'm their brand ambassador. So my job is to go out and talk about Manufacturers News and our product lines, Industry Select and Industry Net, and just, hype up all those manufacturers. And personally, I really just like to support U.S. manufacturing.
And you connect who?
Buyers and sellers in the industry.
Awesome. I see that we have two other people that are waiting in the green room. So I might as well bring you on. Hello to you, Michael.
Oh, hi. You tricked me when you started talking about other people. I'm like, oh, there's different people here? Okay, then I don't have to do anything yet. I thought I was getting a break for a while. I'm not sure what was going on. It threw me for a loop.
Hi, Mike. Thank you
Hi.
for being here and
Thank you for having
coming
me.
out of your hiatus off of LinkedIn.
No, I'm not. I'm still going to stay on my hiatus from LinkedIn. I'm not going to sign in and look at it. I'm not going to comment on it. I'm not going to do anything. And if anybody wants to invite me to be a part of their network, I have no interest in responding. So just know that ahead of time. I'm just enjoying my break from it. It's
Understood.
it's
Understood.
well needed and deserved.
Won't you please share with us who you are and what you do?
Oh my gosh, I'm me. Um, and now I'm little again, so you shrunk me somewhere. Um, I'm me. I mean, I don't know how else to describe me. I mean, it encompasses quite a bit of everything that I am. I'm all things that I embody, and I am grateful to be alive every single day. You know, the stroke was, I call it my stroke of gratitude. So for me, even though I have a track record of not being able to die, it kind of just reminded me what really matters. And waking up every day is the way I start my day, and I just start in complete utter gratitude. And the fact that I get to live into my purpose every day, which is impacting others on a daily basis, it's just the deepest level of fulfillment and peace that I've ever felt in my life.
So, how do you help others? How do you impact them?
If you want to break it down as simple as possible, I help them to feel valued, heard, and seen on a daily basis. That's the simplest way to break it down,
Awesome.
because nobody really feels that in their life anymore, and they don't know how to do that for themselves because the society teaches us not to.
Yeah. Yeah. Apologies from one of our guests. We're waiting for her. Um, she is in South Africa in load shedding, which means that she doesn't have power at the moment. But we have someone else that's here to join us. So, welcome, Johnny Boy.
Hi, John.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How are
Oh,
you?
Yeah, right. So, yeah, what Michael said. That'll do.
Oh my gosh! Tell us who you are and what you do, please, Jonathan.
Um, I am many different things to many different people and couldn't realistically be said to be any one thing. Um, so I am the collection of, uh, at this stage, about 180 different things
Wow.
all fused into the creation of something new.
Wow.
Well, yeah, you say wow, let's see if I can manifest it. Then you can say wow. When I get it done, then you go, fuck me. Sorry. You go, yeah, wow. That will be a wow. At the moment, I'm just, like my chief strategist says, I'm going to use a slightly bad word, but he says ideas are like bum holes. Everyone has one, and most of them stink.
Wow.
So I use that as my guiding principle when I'm writing my documentation.
Wow.
Hmm.
Okay. You guys are so colorful today. Let me let's just see check in with our audience and see who's here and spending some time with us. Hello. Another Jonathan that's in my life. He's from Atlanta. Nice to see you, Jonathan. But he's the distinction is he has an H after the L.
The wrong
Nice to
spelling.
see you. Who says there's no right or wrong way of anything really? We're defying the odds every day, aren't we?
I'll grant you this as
Yeah.
it is your show. But you know if it was just you if it was just you and me, I'd push back on that. So anyhow, carry on. Jonathan, we love the way you spell it.
Oh gosh. Hello to you, Megan. Thank you
hi,
for tuning
Megan.
in. Nice to see you. And look, really?
Well, I
Mm,
posted quick before it started.
Well, yes, Katie is on vacation. So I was a little worried that you would be able to make it for us today. But
Hi,
thank you for
Megan.
being
I
here.
did the chat yesterday too, and I
Mm.
worked on Monday making my chat slides.
Oh my gosh. Good
Hi,
morning from
Whitney.
Katy, Texas. Hello, Whitney. Thank you for being here. And I love to see some amazing networking in the comments. And Megan says she's tuning in from Wisconsin as well. So, Megan, it must be hot also where you are. Um, hold on. I'm just, oh,
I don't get to it because I want to say something. Yeah,
that,
yeah, 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 yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it.
let me just say hashtag jealous. Seriously, what the heck is up with you guys and meeting in person? Stop.
I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh. Megan says she agrees with you. She needs a break from LinkedIn as well, Mike. So totally get it. And Megan says, won't you read this, please, Jonathan? She says she's already a fan of you, Johnny boy.
Luckily, because I have such a pretty mainstream British accent, I can get away with quite vulgar things, and people think I'm being nice, which the irony is not lost on me.
Oh my god. And Laura says good morning and
Good
happy
morning, Laura.
Friday. Megan says yes, it's finally hot. So I'm happy to see you guys here. Thank you for being here with us. I want to just jump into the conversation since we're gonna be there's a couple of us here. Um and I would like you to please just share a bit of your stroke story. And we'll start with you, Katie. So I'm gonna move you to the hot seat.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay. Well, pretty much, let's see, 2012, I had two cerebellar strokes, February of 2012. I was about 34 years old and a single mother. So it was not something that we had ever planned for. We didn't have a backup plan. So it was really, really difficult to navigate through that. There was a lot of challenges that came with it. But um, the parts of my story that stick out the most to me was that when it was happening, when the actual stroke itself was happening, I had really strong vertigo, which is the feeling that the area around you is moving, not that you are moving. So when this happened, I felt like the floor was caving in or I was being sucked down. And I remember being so scared because I thought that I had really done something horrible and it was the end of the world and I was being sucked into hell. I was so scared. That is the only thing that I could compare it to because I'd never had that sensation before of the being pulled down. So it was a few days after that when we even went to the doctor to find out that I had a stroke. I thought I had a bad flu. And of course, I wasn't thinking straight. You know, nothing was firing properly up there. So before this, I would have recognized the signs of a stroke. But when it was happening in me, I wouldn't. There's no way I could have. I just didn't. So yeah, we found out shortly after that, the reason that I had had a stroke was because I have a hole in my heart. There was no other reasons that I would have had a stroke. I didn't have high cholesterol or high blood sugar or high blood pressure. Like, you know, it was completely normal woman. So there was no reason that I could have had it. So they found the hole in my heart and I entered into a study actually where I pulled a name out of a hat and it was either going to have the hole fixed with this new invention they were studying or to take aspirin and cross your fingers and hope for the best. So unfortunately, I pulled aspirin therapy. And I say unfortunately only because at that time it was just like a ticking time bomb inside of me. I had two little boys and it was so scary to walk around wondering if I was going to have another stroke because like 40% of strokes are reoccurring, like 1 in 4, something like that, are reoccurring strokes. So I knew that the odds of me having another stroke were pretty high. So, especially because there's nothing I could do to not make it happen. So, I really wanted to have it fixed and I couldn't. So, took aspirin every day for 3 or 4 years and reported in. I always got my checks, and it wasn't until 2 or 3 years ago that I actually got the hole in my heart fixed. Thank God.
Wow.
So, yeah, I don't know. That's what I wanted to share with you for my stroke story today, I guess. If you have anything specific you'd like to know, just ask.
That's okay. Thank you. And I'm gonna move on to you, Michael. Won't you please share your stroke story? I think you're the most recent stroke survivor from this panel.
Probably. I mean, my stroke was November 16th of 2022. I was driving with my son in the car. I was pulling up to a red light. I looked at my son and I said, Thomas, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm really tired. And he said, at that moment, my eyes rolled to the back of my head and I passed out. The light turned green. He started tapping me on the shoulder. He said, we got to get home. And I opened my eyes and drove. Apparently that's not normal. So I had a major stroke, three different places in my brain. I'm not smart enough to know the names of them because I'll mispronounce it anyway. Couldn't do it before the stroke. Definitely can't do it after. I decided to go home and take a series of naps with healing frequencies on in the background and self-care. And that's what I did till the next day. The next day I woke up with physical stroke symptoms of slurring speech and droopy left side of my face, half paralyzed on my left side of my body, and got the kids off to school by myself, as I always do. And then had a friend pick me up and went to the ER. Walked myself into the ER. They looked at me and I said, I think I had a stroke. And they're like, well, no, there's no way. You wouldn't be here right now if you had a stroke. And they said, when was it? And I told them the story. And they said, there's no way you would be here right now if you had had a stroke. So they started their first round of tests and they admitted me before they even gave me the results. After admitting me, they decided to tell me that I had a major stroke at 3 places in my brain and that they were admitting me for observation. And I said, fine, I can stay 24 hours. And that's what I did. I went through every single test that they did, every test that they had. And to this date, they still haven't figured out why I had it. Because I've gotten a complete clear bill of health for everything. My blood work is the best it's ever been in my life, by far. Everything is back in check. The only problem that they found at that point in time is that my thyroid pretty much shut down. Just about fully shut down. And that my testosterone level was through the floor. One of the lowest I've ever seen. All because of my thyroid. And other than that, they've just been addressing that. And I've been losing weight and eating healthier and resting. Lots of resting and self-care. Lots of meditation. Lots of stretching. Lots of still more sleep than I probably have ever gotten in my life, actually. Because it took me 3 weeks before I was able to start having full range of motion back on the left side of my body from continuous healing myself. And that's the only way I know how to do things. Because the doctors were slow and couldn't get me support. So I had to do everything myself. I was still taking care of my 3 kids by myself. Still got them up every single day. Still had to be up at 5 in the morning to wake them to get them ready to go to school. It was an adventure. I mean, the real difference was that I started sleeping a lot more. That was the big difference for me. I call it my stroke of gratitude for a reason, because it showed me how valuable my life is and how grateful I am just for waking up and breathing every day. Yeah. And being able to live into my living into my purpose of impacting others every single day is the greatest blessing I've ever had. And that's all I care about. It's been, the stroke was single-handedly the best thing that ever happened to me.
One thing that you didn't speak about, so how long were you in hospital for?
24 hours, because at the end of the 24 hours, they said, well, we want to keep you for the weekend. And I said, well, who's going to watch my kids? And they said, well, call child services. And I said, no, I'm leaving right now. Thank you. So, especially after everything my kids went through with the abuse and then me having to fight for custody and everything else that I went through with them.
Yeah. So you have 3 kids who were abused by their mom.
Yes.
And now you have custody of them and you take care of them on your own. You're a single dad.
Yes. Solo. I call it a solo parent because she gets 1 week a year with them, which I don't think qualifies as a parent. It's more like a distant dying aunt. But yes.
Yeah. And you discharged yourself. Yeah. You discharged yourself from hospital. Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Wow.
And then they took my driver's license because I decided to leave the hospital. They took that away 3 days later. And then I went to my doctor, and within 24 hours, I paid a lawyer and got it fixed right away, got my license back. Because they said that there was absolutely nothing wrong with me. I was 100% healed within 3 weeks. There was not a single trace of anything that had happened to me. I've been cleared by neurologists. I've been cleared by cardiologists. I've been cleared by pulmonologists. I've been cleared by endocrinologists. I've been cleared by every doctor that I've gone to. And they've tried to send me to all of them. And I went. I followed everything that they wanted to do. did every test that they asked for, other than a stress test, because they only do that when I'm getting the kids ready in the morning and I have no one to watch them. So
Mm. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Let me bring Johnny on.
Yeah, that's a fairly harsh set of experiences that you've had there, Michael,
Yeah.
and you are presumably aware of the phrase reframing. Yeah, so you're doing so with incredible power. One of the things that might interest you, do you ever get a chance? I mean, 3 kids, no, you don't get a chance to read. Do you listen to audiobooks?
Yes, he
hmm
does.
yeah, like rapid
Right.
fire.
Right, okay, so I just read this book. It's utterly amazing, called The Myth of Normal, by Gabor Mate. And it is for people who can look at their thinking, as we have all, well, I haven't yet said, but you have both shown this ability to conceive of your thinking separate to it, observing your thinking. You read this book and you're going to go, oh, again and again and again. And it was like this, it's massive. And I read it in 6 weeks. It's just blow, blam, blam, blam. Right. Okay. So hi. La, 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 la. This is live, is it? Oh my God! Can we do that
Yeah.
again? No. So okay. In a similar way, reframing. It is clearly a coping strategy for trauma,
Mm.
and it's only really apparent when you hear other people doing it. So I'm lucky to have had my strokes. The irony, oh dearie me. So when I was 22, I had a motorcycle accident, and the upper right side of my body is paralyzed, no muscles, spinal cord injury, that I'm paralyzed in my chest, my lung, my back, my shoulder, and it is incredibly painful. So the stroke wasn't the first thing that happened to me. Um, so I was with one arm for a period of time, and then I fell over and I broke my only good arm, and they put me in a cast from my fingertips to my elbow for 18 weeks. Now, I'm incredibly fortunate, as it turns out, to be in the UK because healthcare is free at the point of need. And
Mm.
my goodness me, I'd be dead if I lived in America. Simple as that.
Healthcare is free
Um,
for us too.
are you in Canada?
I'm in America, and if you have an emergency, and actually, no matter what, if you go to the hospital, you are taken care of whether you have insurance or not. You get the same care. That's just
Really?
a bad rumor. Yeah, 100%. And they have it
Okay.
posted all over the hospital too. If you need help,
Is
if
that
you need
is that
care,
Medicare? Is that Medicare?
you can get Medicare if you qualify, yeah, but anybody can get treated. You may have to pay for it, but they don't come knocking down your door if you don't pay for it. My sister
Okay.
works at a hospital too, so that's just a bad
Hmm.
rumor. I just wanted to clear
It
that up.
yeah, it's a incredibly widespread rumor.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
It annoys
yeah,
people.
yeah, it would do. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Um, so yeah, so the stroke wasn't the first thing. So the having no arms at all teaches you humility, patience, all sorts of things like that. So I did a hospital radio show for children's ward in the hospital that sorted my nerve injury, and I got very good at doing that. And you'll be able to look back at, Michael, at the situation leading up to your stroke. when I now look back, I'd been my mother had died on Christmas Eve 2003, and then by the March of that year, I was fighting with a company I'd worked for 14 years to keep my job. Had this meeting with them, came out, white out, and I just head on the desk about 45, 50 minutes, and then, okay. Then two when I'm driving, and the most distinct double vision, like one image there, one image there. I had to close one eye to get home safely. But I'm 35, well, 34, 35 at this time, 33 at that time, actually. Um, then I had one and I started to limp. And then I had one and I couldn't really use my right leg at all. So at that point, I phoned my dad and said, "Oh, I think we better go to the doctor." Go to the doctor. By the time I get there, I'm basically okay again. Have lunch. He books me in for various tests. He was going to do an MRI test. 3 days before the MRI test, walking out of the house with Dr. Feelgood, Motley Crue, under my arm, ready for this radio show, down on the drive. And I don't know how long I was there, but at some point I slid across the drive and up and over the step. I couldn't get up. That pulling feeling, Katie, couldn't get up. I likened it to cows that have BSE. They can't. You see cattle falling over. I don't know if you use it. There's this thing called BSE in England. Anyway, dragged myself over. I'm not a great mobile phone user. Even today, I have this basic phone. So I'd left the phone at home, and luckily, it was within reach. So I had some comprehension. And the first people I phoned were the radio station. And what I thought I was saying to them is, "I'm not feeling that well. I don't think I'm going to make it tonight." But what I actually said was,
Yeah.
then I phoned my dad and I said, "Yeah, I'm feeling a bit tired. I'm going to go to bed." And again, now he was 2 hours away, but because it's hospital radio, the guy that answered the phone recognized it as a stroke, phoned the police and the ambulance in the area he knew I lived. It was only
Wow.
because of that they broke in the door, they saved me. Otherwise, with the severity of the stroke I had, so basically the 5 mini strokes, TIAs, were you have two arteries at the back of your neck called the vertebral arteries, and they come up and they join in the middle, go into the base of the back of the brain. It's for your autonomic functions, heart and lungs. Is this too much detail? Heart and
No,
lungs.
pause.
And it's absolutely critical blood flow. So over the 5 mini strokes, more and more of a clog, because I saw the angiogram later, had built up in this central part where the two veins go in. And basically, the sixth stroke, it completely blocked. Later on, the angiogram doctor, when looking at my angiogram, said, "Ooh, I've never seen this on a person who's still alive before,"
Wow.
which I overheard. Look, you know how specialist doctors, they're genuinely interested in things that are novel.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. So
definitely.
you can't blame me, and I think that's part of the fun. But it's very motivational. So I checked myself out of hospital. Now, Michael, I had lost everything. I couldn't see for 2 weeks. I couldn't stand for 2 months. I was in a wheelchair for a month after that. Still today, I have this thing called foot drop. So my right foot, all the muscles in the ankle are what give you balance. You lose that, I fell over. So I fell over Christmas just gone, 40 times inside the house.
Wow.
So um, my journey is basically that I checked myself out on the assumption I was going to die or should already be dead. I gave away anything that had been in my cupboards for more than 5 years untouched. I paid for my funeral. I wrote my eulogy. I chose the music and went, okay, here we go. And despite accepting death, and in fairness, there's a great deal of pain with my right arm. Um, the prospect of it didn't alarm me much, but nonetheless, I was shaking like this. I had a stick, I had a brace on my leg so my knee wouldn't lock out. So I was really, really in a mess. And I'm not prepared to die on someone else's terms. So if I'm going to die, fair enough, but I'm not going to not going to die like this. So I'm in the gym that my a friend gave me a guest pass to, and I'm in this the spa pool chatting to this bloke because even though I'm still you don't learn to talk by not talking. So um, chatting to this bloke, he goes, "Oh yeah, you should volunteer in primary school." I go, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm a primary head teacher," and I said, "Well, I'll take that opportunity. I'm going to be dead in a week, so I might as well, give that a go." Um, and you fill out all these forms, you get checked by police, all the rest of it, and
Yeah.
then within a week, I was in this school with a class of year threes, so 7, and basically, I'm not a parent. I don't have children. My brother doesn't have children. There are no children in my circle. But children of that age, something different walks in the room, they're on you. Now, I was really, really, really tired because I'd had it's called a pons stroke. So where all the information goes from brain to body is called your pons. And the stroke I had was hold on, yeah, left hemisphere, whichever one it is that gives the right side of the body. Yeah, left hemisphere, right pons. So I lost everything. Um, so speaking, just even staying awake, just concentrating on anything took a huge amount of mental energy, and I'd normally be in and out like that. But when you're sitting in a class of children and they're all looking at you, you can't do that. So it required that I step up.
Mm.
Now, I could only do half a day a week for the first 2.5 years. For the first 3 years, I couldn't walk and talk at the same time. So essentially, what you need to do when you're reconstructing consciousness, it turns out, is be very careful about all sorts of things like sleep, like diet, like water, like sugar consumption, like processed food, like exercise, daily exercise, like primary focus, like mental representations and what things mean to you. I use music very extensively, but it turns out that I also have synesthesia. So I literally see music. It's incredible. Um, so yeah, I've reconstructed this brain, which it now turns out is yeah, not not standard. That's me.
Not
Sorry I spoke for
standard.
so
I
long.
like that.
And that's okay. Like I said, there are different ways to be. There's no right or wrong way, right?
This is the way that
Um,
works.
yes, just the way it works. Okay, let's go to the comments, and then I have another question for you guys. So, hmm. Okay, Megan says, by the way, when you
Yeah.
drop the F bombs, your accent makes it so much better.
Yeah.
That's why
Ve-
it's okay. It's because it's just so
Very good.
pleasing to the ear.
Well, one does try. The ex-colonies and everything. We need to treat you with some respect. Tickety boo.
Oh my gosh. Laura says she's commenting on your story, Katie. She says it was that's really scary. And then we moved on to Mike and Whitney said, "Wow, that's terrifying." And Laura agreed with her. Um, then we have Gracie. Hi, Gracie. Thank you for being here with us. She says,
I
"Happy
like the
Saturday,
sunflower.
everyone." Yes.
Sunflowers make me think of Whitney.
Oh, yeah. Megan says, "Wow, Michael, you're a great human being. There's a reason why you're still here. Thank you for sharing your story." And she says, "And that's what you call a miracle. God bless." Absolutely. Laura says, "Michael, such a remarkable story and evidence you still have impact to make. Grateful for the impact you make in me." Oh. Whitney says, "Medical debt in the US is awful though. RIP Medical Debt is a non-profit that buys people's medical debts."
That's
Thank
Okay.
you.
interesting. Hey,
Thank
Whitney, I can look it up myself, but I was just wondering, is that the same as the people who the creditors who buy the debt from the hospital and then they call you and make you pay? I wonder if that's the same thing, or if this
you.
is like, well, it says it's nonprofit, so it makes it sound like they are buying it to help others, not to try
Yeah.
and get the money back. I don't know.
Yes, that's what
I,
I was thinking.
I my a perspective, but obviously not truth, based on no knowledge at all.
Mhm.
The RIP medical debt sounds to me like what we call in the UK equity release, where you take out a loan against the property, so people ownership's much higher in the UK. So these companies say, "Oh yeah, we'll give you this money," which is a loan they take out against your house, and then when you die, they take their money plus interest. So um, but then as you've told told me, there isn't the situation about medical insurance that I uneducatedly thought there was.
Well,
So
it's a problem. Not everybody has access to medical insurance, but everybody has access to medical care. That
right,
is just something that I don't think people understand. That
no,
if you don't have any insurance and you don't even want to say who you are, you can walk in the hospital with a gaping wound and say help, and they're going to help you. If you walk in and say, "Oh, my chest hurts," they're going to help you.
Mhm.
So you're going to get all the medical help you need. But yeah, that's
mm,
cool, Whitney. I'm so glad I know about that.
Whitney says it's kind of similar in that they buy the debt for pennies on the dollar and then wipe the debt for those people.
That's awesome.
Yes.
mm.
It's RIP. I know I can go back in the comments, but I'm not.
RIP debt. Oh, bring it up again, Whitney. What's it? RIP debt.
Yes, I think
Here
it's
you go. Excellent.
ripmedicaldebt.org.
Hey, we're making a difference already. Come on.
I learn stuff from Whitney all the time. I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
This is awesome.
she's awesome. Gail says powerful stories and such an important topic, Inga. I'm learning so much. And it started when I first heard your story, Katie. Laura says, "Johnny boy, I'm in awe of your resilience." I'm
Thank
not
you.
sure why Megan was laughing, but I'm sure it's something to do with what you said, Jonathan.
I didn't say anything.
No, at the end, I think you made a joke, so that's why she was
I could have
laughing.
done. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, if okay, if you haven't connected to the people that are on your screen right now, you're missing out. They're all awesome, and I have to tell you just quickly, Jonathan never leaves the conversation with me without telling me a joke.
Mm.
Every time we meet, that's at least he's like, it would be rude of me if I didn't tell you a joke. So yeah, Katie is amazing. A roadside geologist. She loves rocks, and I've learned a lot from her about that. Michael, Michael, as distant as he may seem, he's really warm and like a teddy bear, um, and really awesome. He's he's a guide to many, including me. So thank you guys for being here. Um, Laura says, it was a discussion like this that taught me how a stroke and heart attack look different on women, and I was able to identify both in my mom. Wow.
That's incredible.
Thank you for this discussion. It's so helpful. Thank you, Laura. And Megan is saying the whole accent conversation. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why she was laughing. Because of the
Oh,
accent, yes.
yes, yes. I
Um,
did somewhat ham it up.
so, guys, I wanted to ask you, what are some challenges that you faced during recovery, and how did you overcome them? And I'll go again according to the sequence that we had before. So, Katie, bring out your needles and tell us about that.
Bring out my needles. I don't even have anything in here.
No, just tell us.
Um,
Just tell us.
I wanted to make mention really quick after hearing John and Michael that I don't think either of you realized that you were having a stroke when you had a stroke. And I didn't, and Michael's doctor didn't know it. And I guess I'm not clear on if your doctor realized what was happening. Mine didn't either. I went to the emergency room and they sent me home with a urinary tract infection. And I went to my doctor and he's the one who caught it. So I just think that I think that we should know that we don't recognize a stroke in ourselves when it's happening. Some
Mm.
people do, but probably not. So keep that in mind.
Oh, and
John thought he was speaking completely clear English, and he clearly was not. I remember calling into work in the morning saying, I think I have the flu. I'm staying home. And my boss thought that I was drunk and sent me home when I kept coming back in. So maybe trust the other people around you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a cerebellar stroke, which is in the back of your head, back of your brain, by the brainstem, and it's what controls your balance among many other things. But balance is a big thing. Also, I had left side deficits. So my left side is the one that's weaker. It's less coordinated, things like that. I also had dropped foot, but it went away. Things like that. I was able to kind of work my way through them. But these things still do affect me when I am overwhelmed, or I'm hot, or I'm stressed out, or I'm sad, or I'm ill in general. Things just get a little bit worse.
mm,
Being so tired was something that I remember you guys have both mentioned how tired you were. And I also realized that. And I mean, it's been a long time and I get wiped out so easily. And it's a tired that I've never felt before. It's like my thoughts are tired. It's not even just a tired body. It's like, my brain is just done. So, those are some of the, deficits that I've had to work through. And you kind of have to like train your brain to fire on all cylinders, I guess, and you have to make sure you do take care of yourself. You need to always have the water, the sugar, the salt, the actual minerals and things that your brain needs and your heart needs. You need these things even more so now, because I don't know if we can self-regulate them.
yeah.
So I struggled a lot, again, left-sided. So I had to learn how to type again. I had to learn how to talk again. Um, you lose a lot of speech, you lose a lot of articulation. There's a lot of things you just lose. So I had to relearn a lot of things. I think Inger's favorite story, though, is that for me to get back my hands, working with my hands, making them meet together, work together, things like that, to get to work all those lines together to make everything work, is I was going through occupational therapy and kind of lagging along, but then I picked back up my crocheting, My mom had always crocheted. My grandma had always crocheted. It's just something that I've always done, and I didn't want to lose it. My mom had a stroke about a year before me, and she was so sad that she lost the ability to crochet. She just gave me all of her stuff. I finished all of her projects for her. So it's just I didn't want to lose it. It was just too important to me, and I didn't want to lose it. So I used crochet to get back my fine motor skills, and it definitely helped a lot. I I
Wow.
also had to have my driver's license taken away. I couldn't. There's a lot of issues that I have with my sight, and like looking at a rear view mirror, side mirrors. Forget it. My brain is like, what is that? So rear view mirrors, side mirrors, I couldn't do that. So yeah, I had to give up a lot of things and then earn them back through practice. So
Wow.
definitely, um, that's something that I struggle with still and did
Yeah.
for a long time.
Wow. Um, you know, I believe that your superpower is determination.
I think that you're the one who pointed that out to me, and I think so too, because I think like Michael, when you are
The
the
soul.
sole human for the sole adult, the sole care person for babies, for like your little babies. You can't give that up to someone else. You can't trust anybody else. Plus, having already been involved with the court system and the whatever, screw that. No, I'd much rather die taking care of my own kids than send them off to someone else where God knows what's going to happen. So
Right.
I was determined to get through it.
Yeah.
Was determined to get back to work. I may have lied a little to go back to work earlier so that I could. I had to work. I had to make money. I couldn't live on the $300 a month I was getting in disability because it's short-term disability. So it's determined to get back to work, determined to still be the mom I needed to be, determined to still be the daughter and
Yeah.
sister that I needed to be. And I
Wow.
didn't know that until you told me.
Sometimes it's not easy to see that in yourself, right? That's what it is. You need that outside perspective. So let's go on to you, Mike. What are some challenges that you faced during your recovery, and how did you overcome them?
So I don't think it's fair of me to have this question because I'm like I realize how blessed I am, right? I am literally my doctors call me the walking miracle because I am better than I was before the stroke. Every single test is better than it was before the stroke. When they were testing my, all those little things, the occupational therapy, left side versus right side, my tests were better after the stroke 3 weeks later than they were before the stroke. So I'm the epitome of a walking miracle, and it's not the first near death experience I've had. So I don't know if it's fair of me to comment on it. The only thing I will say was the hardest thing was getting enough sleep, especially taking care of the three kids. I mean, I remember there being nights that I would get my kids upstairs at 7 o'clock. By 7:30, I was sleeping. Like I was out cold, and I would sleep straight through to 5 in the morning when I would get up to take care of them again. Like that's the hard. That was for me the hardest part and being alone up and downstairs all day long, going back and forth to the kids, especially with my 5 year old who's going to be 6 Tuesday. God help me. Um, she would drag me up and down the stairs until literally I was dragging my feet behind me. And she would look at me and say, "Are you okay?" And I'd be like, "No, you're trying to kill me, literally. Can you please stop trying to kill me?" And like after a while, she finally got the point not to drag me up and downstairs unless it was important. You want me to tuck you in, that's fine. You want me to bring you a book, you want me to read you something, you want me to do those things, I'll do it all day long. But don't
Yeah.
just get me to come upstairs because you're stuck on an ad on your iPad. That's not going to work, kid.
Yeah.
We need a new method. But for me, that was the hardest part. Like the rest of it, I mean, I didn't have physical support from people around me, family, anything. The services I was supposed to get a home health aide. They never showed up. They still haven't showed up. They've called me a few times and said, can we make an appointment? It's now 6 months later, 8 months later, whatever it is. Still no appointment, still nothing. So I really didn't have much support. And luckily, I only lost my license for, I think, 3 days. And it was right around Christmas, though. It was the day that the kids got off of school for Christmas was the day they took my license away. And then I immediately called a Jewish lawyer because he wasn't working Christmas, or he was working Christmas, and I got it taken care of. I mean, it was done the next business day it got open. It's like I just had to get it done. So I paid him whatever it took to get my license back. I was very fortunate at the time.
Yeah.
But I stopped working. I stopped working with clients. I took a break from everything. I mean, I
Yeah.
walked away from every single thing I was working on, all the businesses I built, everything I was doing. I walked away from because I needed to stop everything to really focus all my energy
On
on me.
yourself. Yeah.
And that's what I
Absolutely.
did. I mean, now granted, I started working with Ingrid during that time, but she needed the extra attention. So I definitely that was more of a need basis than me healing myself.
I wonder if our brain makes us so tired so that it can get the rest and the healing that it needs. It just like
Yes.
forces us to like
100%. I mean, like literally, I would pass out drooling sitting straight up on the couch. Like, I mean, my
and
kids
just
would come
sleep
down and they
anyway.
would take pictures of me just to make fun of me. Like because I never slept like that in my life. Like I used to sleep 4 hours a night and I'd be able to run for days.
Yeah.
But this, I mean, I never experienced anything like that. Even when I had bedridden pneumonia for 3 weeks when I was 19, it was never anything like this. Like this
Right.
was insane. The amount of rest that my body needed because my mind was trying to do things that it was so used to that now it had to think those extra steps to get things done. Luckily, I was still able to do them. Like I realize how blessed and how much of a miracle I am. I don't
Yeah.
take that lightly, which is why I dedicate so much time and energy to helping others on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I realize that it's a miracle, and I realize that me breathing is a miracle, and I realize that it's not the first near-death experience, and I realize that the other 15 were miracles also for all different reasons. The 2 times I drowned, the 1 time I was beat to death, the 7 times I OD'd, the car accidents I walked away from, the house fire. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, I'm meant to be here, so now I'm living into my purpose every single day of just impacting others. That's all I'm working on.
Woo.
It
Okay.
sounds joyous.
Does. Let's move on to Jonathan.
So it's very interesting because I became interested in brains after my strokes. So read loads of this and do loads of that and all the rest of it. What's really apparent is the sense of purpose that both Michael and Katie associated with recovering the skills. So
Mm.
although Michael said, "Oh yeah, don't bring me upstairs to change an ad," when I wrote in this in my book, I go home. I'm going back to my dad's house. My old room is on the third floor of a British Victorian terrace, and he goes, "We'll set you up a bed downstairs." And I said to him, "How am I going to learn to walk upstairs if I don't walk upstairs?"
Right.
And that foot drop. So I dragged my foot over the thing. I'd stand on my right leg. It would shake under the pressure. And I fell down not all of the stairs, but at least a couple of flights,
Mm.
probably 7 or 8 times. But then you learn to walk upstairs. The same as so I did this children's radio show, and the speech therapist said you need to learn to listen to your new voice because you think at a certain speed, but you can't
Yeah.
now articulate it. So she said, record yourself. So I recorded myself doing specifically difficult language, and yeah, just a crazy, crazy radio show. And I'd listen for my errors and I'd improve it each week. And so for me, I'm dyslexic as well. And I experience the world multi perspectively all at once. And so I enjoy running the thought experiments that then lead to the behavior change because, as I alluded to earlier, we seem to have this capacity to observe our consciousness. I don't know quite how the insides of your guys' heads work, but what you've described,
Mm.
even though you compressed it into 3 days, Michael, it wasn't 3 days really. You just basically said to your brain, and I don't know your whole backstory, but you just gave us a little snippet. My God, my children would have no one but for me. And you stepped up, Katie, but for you. your children would go into care. You'd rather die looking after them than to accept that. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is the difference between people that have had strokes and near-death experiences and other people in the environment. And I used to get quite angry at people. So until 6 or so years ago, my phrase was, you can either step up or F off, because people would complain to me about things that are for them big, but to me absolutely inconsequential, and I was very intolerant at that time. And now I recognize how without purpose,
Mm.
and we are continually robbed of agency and purpose in our lives. So people that don't have to find themselves unable to. And that's
Mm.
how, Michael, you reach out to people and you let them be heard. So I've only just recently, 5 years, because I have 15, 16 different perceptions of the same event happening all at once. And people will go, Jonathan, this is my problem. And I go, but, all my life. And then I read in Seven Habits of Highly Effective People the phrase, listen compassionately, respond emotionally. So literally what most human brains want is to go and you go and then you go, oh wow, that sounds really, and you approximate an emotion, and they go, oh yeah, and then you go, I'm really sorry you're experiencing that. And then I saw it in The Simpsons, and I've clipped the audio out of exactly that technique being used, and honestly, game changer, because people can now talk to me without me trying to be a rescuer, which
Mm.
was, yeah. So challenges, everything's a challenge every day. As hard as I try, the daily functionality is only achieved through daily repetition. So I am in tremendous pain. I haven't slept for 27 years. I've always been medicated asleep since my motorcycle accident. However, after various addictions to this, that, and the other, like the opioid thing in the US. Back in 1996, when I had my bike accident, mate, the amount of opioids I was having a day, like thousands of milligrams of morphine,
Wow.
enough it would have killed 3 or 4 people. And it literally, I was driving on this, and yeah, so um
Wow.
it's just it's so tiring rewiring your brain.
Yeah.
Now, because I'd lost everything, I was much more focused on rebuilding everything, which is why I can now spot my perceptions all at once, whereas before it was too fast. And now that I can spot the perceptions, well, I can't remember what I was going to make. Oh, I've lost my train of thought. Hey ho.
We were just talking about how, what are the challenges and how did you overcome them? Because so
Yeah.
now that you can spot those things.
So I think what I was going to say is that because I have the multiple perspectives that I can now, that it, the process of rebuilding my consciousness, I'm a visual thinker, so it's all about creation of pictures and the energy flow and what have you in the brain. My synesthesia, so I love listening to music because it creates these images in the brain, which I then associate with neural energy, and then I create visual metaphors to represent my the power inside here, but the physical issues. So end of the day, Katie, you start slurring my words. I start stooping over, and I'm in bed at 6:30 in the evening every evening. And I wake up at 5 in the morning, have an hour to clear my head, make my bed, have my breakfast, down the gym, in the gym for 2.5 hours, come out of the gym, go and do my thing to try and help the world, then have lunch, then come back and reset. So uh, in the pursuit of purpose, Michael, have chosen that what can be done is technically I'm dead twice because I've had 6 strokes, and technically I'm not alive now. Um, so, like Michael, it's every day I wake up, I go, wow, wow. So yeah, so you throw yourself at things, and I had great experiences when I was volunteering in that primary school, and it led to what I'm currently doing. And what I'm currently doing is so audacious. Man, I was working on a documentation today, and just like, I'm going to pitch it to people, and 100 out of 100 people are just going to laugh me out of the room. But yeah, 1 in 1,000 maybe.
Wow.
Like I
Okay.
said, when I do it, then wow.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. I'm always just wowed by you and even all of you actually. But okay, we need to wrap up, and I'm going to ask my final question. But I just want to point something out, and that is that um, even though we can all have something in common, we can all be so very different, and that our experiences can be so very different. But it doesn't mean that we can't. I'm getting emotional, of course, but it doesn't mean that we can't create something beautiful together,
Right.
right? So, thank you to all of you for being here and being part of this conversation. It's a really important conversation in that, you know, a lot of us don't realize how anything can touch us and how strokes can actually touch us. I myself lost an uncle to a stroke, and my father's brother, my cousin has had a lot of experience, working with people that are, you know, medically challenged, but she didn't pick up that her father was having a stroke. And, he waited because they called for an ambulance, and the ambulance couldn't come into their community because they were not feeling safe. And as a result, an hour after he had the stroke, she just said she had to wait until people woke up. So when two guys were walking past this in the street, she went to them and asked them to help so that they could carry her dad because his body was like a dead weight, and she and her son couldn't do it on their own. Anyway, she got him to hospital. He was in hospital for a few days, but he died on July 4th.
When was this?
2020, I think it was 2022 or
Wow.
20, yeah, I think it was last year. But
Last year.
I stand under correction. But yeah, that happened, and
Yeah, stroke is a killer.
it
It
is a
really
killer.
is.
It is, but at the end of the day, the point that I'm trying to make is that everybody's experience is different, yet we're all the same. Right? So that's the power of community. Thank you for being here. My final question to you is, what is a resource that you've come across for that helped you as somebody that had a stroke, and that can help others? Could you share that with us? And also, where can people find you if they'd like to connect with you? I'll start with you, Katie.
Every
Actually,
time she says she'll start with me, she puts you on screen.
no, because that's where he was originally when I did this. But you know
I'm
what?
just kidding.
I was going to say, I mean, you're saying Katie's got a beard like this. It's not very pleasant.
I know I
Honestly.
shaved mine. Come on
Oh
now.
my gosh.
Exactly.
Okay, let's go in the reverse order. Since you're Dane, Jonathan, take it away.
Fine. Okay, so a resource that I use every day is this. I take dietary supplements of omega 3, 6, and 9. I get omega 3 from flaxseed oil if you're vegetarian or vegan. I eat oily fish, salmon 3 times a week, and I don't. I buy meat and fish that is not from supermarkets or main stores for the quality of the food, and that leads to the right brain chemistry, as Katie talks about. And then basically, there's a um, line in a book called The Talent Code by Daniel Coyle, and essentially, it's about so between your neural circuits, there is a thing like a sock called myelin. It's a fatty sheath that's built up from omega 3s and 6s. Now, when you do something, so something you've done for years and years and years, or like Katie described with the needles, you build up a specific skill, and by repeating it, then it gets better and better and better. What you have to do is make it difficult for yourself every day. If you want to, if you want to
Okay,
outperform, if you want to exist, fine. If you want to live, you have to throw yourself at it. That's me.
awesome. And where can people find you, please?
I'm on LinkedIn, potency.world. If you find the business page, you'll find me.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
um, Michael. Yes.
Resources. That would mean that I have to be consistent with something. I mean, the only thing I'm consistent with every day is meditation. To me, that's the most important thing because I need to quiet my mind to be able to expand my mind. And it's given me the space to heal myself because we will heal ourselves if we give ourselves the space. But
Yep.
it's disconnecting and, being able to shut things down that society has told us is instant gratification that we need right away. And you can find me anywhere but LinkedIn just to prove a point because I have no interest on being on LinkedIn anytime soon.
Okay.
There's only one of me in the whole world. It's like you can type in my name and there's only one of me in the whole world. You'll see mugshots. You'll see all sorts of fun stuff. But like you'll
Mugshot.
see it all. Yeah, for my DUI in 2004.
Oh my gosh.
I actually had
Oh,
hair
look
then
for it.
too. So there you go. You should look for it. It's really entertaining. It's hysterical. But anyway, yeah, I mean, like what's worked for me doesn't work for everybody else because I believe that it's going to work and I know it's going to work, right? So my beliefs and my spiritual practices is what's gotten me through this, and I know that without a doubt. And my doctors will testify to it because they've seen the recovery. They saw how I turned things around before I even went to the hospital within 26 hours. Like,
Yeah.
so it was for me. It's just I'm here because I'm supposed to be here, and I have a purpose, and I just need to live into it every day.
Awesome. Thank you. Katie.
Um, I like the phrase use it or lose it. My mom has told me that for many, many years about many, many different things, all my childhood and teenage and adult years. So it means so many things in so many places, but really, you got to use it or you lose it. If when I stop crocheting and don't pick it up for a year, I have to start over. I don't have the ability to just like keep doing what I used to do at the same level. Everything I have to maintain all time. I struggle a lot with numbers, dates, and times, and anything that has to do with numbers. So especially with making appointments and stuff, I have to be sure I allow myself time to get to places that I need to be at certain times. So I think the biggest support that I have been able, aside from the use it or lose it philosophy that I've been taught, planning, personal planning, pen to paper. When I am like an obsessed planner. I have planners all over in my office and journals and whatever. Oh my gosh, just drop it on here. But I use planners to write down things that I have to do, like brain dumps, checklists, to make sure I don't forget anything, because I forget things and it can be really detrimental if I do. So, but also with that planning, the writing things down, it's also a way of memory keeping, because sometimes I will forget that I have called the disability office to do this or that or whatever, like, so it's a memory keeping as well, like a journal. I know what I've done and when I've done it, and I know what has to be done and what's coming up. And so that is my resource that I rely on the most, probably.
Awesome. And since you do it so well, won't you please tell us about BFAST?
BFAST is the acronym for stroke, for recognizing a stroke. So B is for balance. If you are having sudden issues with balance, vertigo, dizziness, or you notice someone who is. Your eyes, you can go blind in both eyes, one eye. You can have spots of blindness. Your face, so what you would look for in the face is drooping on one side, again, sudden. And I say people can probably droop on both sides too if they're having two strokes at the same time. So I don't see why that couldn't be possible. But you can help or recognize it by asking someone to stick out their tongue. If they can stick out their tongue, or if they can't, it's, if they cannot stick out their tongue, that's the issue. Or if it goes to one side or the other, that could be an issue. Same with arms. So you might recognize that you're weaker on one side, or you are like paralyzed on one side, or you can't feel anything on one side. Again, sudden. If it happens suddenly, it's another thing. But you can have someone stick out their arms in front of them and close their eyes. And if one drops, that's another sign that you can maybe call 911. Yeah. And that would go for legs as well. So I guess not just arm, but leg as well. And then speech, if you notice somebody struggling with their speech, you yourself, if you're having a stroke, you don't know you're struggling with your speech. You're clear as a bell. I don't feel right. I'm having a stroke. Or you just might not say anything. So speech is definitely a big one. And time is probably the most important one. Time is of the essence. There is drugs that you can take advantage of that will bust open those clots and get the blood back to that part of the brain that is suffering and dying. So it's very important that if you suspect someone is having a stroke, or you suspect that you are having a stroke, that you call. Here, it's 911. I don't know where it is anywhere else.
Yeah. In the UK, they've got the acronym FAST for face, arm, speech, and time. So, it's brilliant.
Thank you. And Katie, where can people find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. You can also find me on Instagram and on Twitter. When I'm on social, I'm on social. When I'm not, I'm not. I go through phases. But I almost always have LinkedIn open, and a chat is probably the easiest way to reach me directly.
Awesome. I just want to pop back to the comments quickly, because we have a few. Laura said, Katie, valid point. Knowing the symptoms is key. Stroke has no pain. Had I not known the symptoms for women, my mom didn't recognize it in herself, and her doctor didn't recognize it. It would have been a very different outcome. So yes, knowing the symptoms to identify them for the person who can't identify them for themselves is vital.
I would mention here that sometimes stroke does have pain, especially because I don't know about Michael or Jonathan, but I had really bad headaches. The headaches were of astronomical pain, and I still struggle with chronic migraines. I get migraines every day. But sometimes when people have a stroke, you can feel it. It causes a tremendous amount of pain in your head. Again, if it comes on like that, that's the surprise.
Wow. So on that very point, so the irony about when you were describing our arms, because my right arm's been paralyzed for 15, 16 years at that point, I didn't know. And it wasn't until the big stroke when I went down, because my right leg also went down. So I probably would have noticed the mini strokes much earlier had I already not been compromised. But the reframe of that is that I was lucky it went down the right side, because I already lost the right arm.
Yeah.
So If you're
Yes.
gonna have a stroke, have one down the same side.
Yes.
Yeah. If they're going to reoccur, I hope they reoccur on the same side every
Yeah,
time. Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
the lady whose comment you just read out,
Laura.
I think she would. I think she'd find that book, The Myth of Normal by Gabor Mate, extremely interesting reading
It's on
because
my TBR list.
it's right. Okay, so it's so much about it's about right. Okay, in brief, it's about trauma. It's about childhood trauma of all different sorts. It doesn't have to be this or that or the other. It can be any experience, and then how you use coping strategies that as a child work, and then you carry on in adulthood, and you're doing things that don't work for you. And he gives loads of examples, but basically the main thing about it is that by the way the society conditions us in the what would typically be called the West, we have a patriarchal system whereby, generally speaking, women are expected to look after the children, expected to look after the house, expected to look after the husband, even though she's working as well. And there's a whole thing that goes on where a man comes in, so you spend the evening dealing with him and not expressing your own truth, and the repression of that leads to inflammation, injuries, and illnesses in women. 8 times more likely a woman to get MS, 4 times more likely to have a heart attack. It's just that, so the impacts for women, and this is what the book's about. It's just, yeah.
It's been
And
on my
so,
TBR for years. I think you mentioned it to me when you and I met before, and you just make me want to put it right back on top of my TBR.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
cool.
Thank you. Let's just so Megan says she has to go and get on another call, but thank you all for sharing your stories. You are all miracles. God bless all of you. Thank you. By the way, Michael needed to leave. Um, so he sent me a message. And
I love the
Whitney was
step
clapping
off,
at
step up or
Step Out
off.
for Apple.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously,
Yeah.
oh, ooh, okay, will do.
So Whitney
Empire of
says, yeah,
Pain.
everyone needs to read Empire of Pain to learn more about opioid crisis. Oh my goodness.
It's really bad up here in Wisconsin. So yeah, it's really bad right now. Well, the past couple of years, anyways. Yuck.
And she
Yeah,
shared the link. She shared a link. She says Empire of Pain is about the Sackler family, which is the family
yeah,
behind
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Voodoo, Forma,
They
and
just
Oxycontin.
They've just so it was reported here, so I don't know whether it was reported in the States, but they've settled so that there's no legal process against any of the family members. So they settled recently. Yeah, they
Wow.
are what a capitalist economy says are producers of entirely Moorish consumer products or drug peddlers, depending on your
Yeah,
Yeah.
perspective.
entirely addicting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
will
was
they
going to
tell
change your
you.
say,
brain chemistry.
yeah,
Like,
I was going to say vermin, and I thought I should be a little more nice. It's a Friday afternoon, but yeah, vermin.
I've had Oxy before. Um,
It's mad, isn't it? It's great.
no,
Oh,
no.
okay.
I actually, so because I had a hip replacement, I was given some afterwards, right? Because I went home like 2 days after my replacement. Um, and I will tell you, it gave me the strangest headache. It
right
was
here.
it was excruciating,
Yeah.
and I was like, nope, I'm not taking this ever again. Thank you very much.
In
And
My
then I
body
fairness,
does not like narcotics. I just throw them up. I can't stand narcotics. So even when I have surgery, it says no narcotics and they don't know what to do. It's like I can't take them. I'll just
yeah,
and I'm glad
well,
I don't want to get involved in it.
yeah, you
yeah,
don't. So, what's interesting, just quickly, so I was projectile vomiting for probably 8 to 10 years while taking all these opioids, and it is interesting because what it does when you realise when you've got constant pain, all day, every day, and every night. This just never, ever, ever stops. You start to notice what drugs
Mm,
really do. And what morphine and opioids do is they screw with your brain so that you can't focus on the pain.
yeah.
They do not stop the pain.
No, they don't.
So your
Mhm.
reaction, both Casey and Inga, entirely congruent with what we know about it.
Wow.
Hey man, getting some real knowledge here.
You
Right.
want to know something that is really ironic about this? Really quickly,
Come on.
sorry, Inger, but
That's
you
okay.
might want to know this.
Right.
Here, they actually have such strict rules now about pain management. You have to see a specific pain doctor, and you have to
Hmm.
sign a pain contract that you won't take pain meds anywhere else, whatever. My mother-in-law, who suffers with extreme pain, and she's in her 70s, and she has rheumatoid arthritis, and she has sarcoidosis. Like she has like all these compiling like legitimate pain that she can't deal with, and they will not allow her to take pain meds because they weaned her off to see if something else would work that wasn't a narcotic, because they had to. Now they've got all these laws they have to follow, but now they won't put her on anything. Nothing works, and she's just is stuck. She has to live in pain. They don't offer her any other options. You
Wow.
can't take these,
Katie, then.
so you just got to be
Hold
in
on.
pain.
Hold on. I just got a new pain last year. Let me give you the search results. Oh, okay, no. Okay, take a note of this, Katie. The spelling is PREGABALIN. The drug is pregabalin. Now, I
I've
was
heard of
on
it.
all sorts. Yeah, I was on all sorts of morphine, massively addicted to morphine, then massively addicted to sleeping tablets. Very long story. Addicted. Getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night. Anyhow, year or so ago, they give me a prescription for this pregabalin. Now, I do have to take a cocktail of 3 drugs, one to push me over the sleep horizon, but this drug is the reason why I go to bed at 6:30 in the evening, because it keeps me out until 5 o'clock the next morning. So that's the sacrifice.
When you can't remove the pain, you might as well be asleep, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah, so the pregabalin, it might be something they've not, because I hadn't seen a pain specialist for years. My GP said go to the pain clinic. They prescribed this wonder drug. Has side effects like
thank you.
anything, but worth
Yeah,
investigating.
thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
Wow. Thank you.
No
Okay. Gail
worries, Laura.
says,
Sorry, Inger.
it's okay. Gail says, so many reminders today about being grateful for health and
And
tenacity and sharing of stories. Many curious minds here today, been listening in and in awe. Awesome.
thanks, Gail.
Laura said sticking out the tongue is a huge help for anyone experiencing a migraine. Migraine meds can make a stroke worse. So before taking any migraine medication, I always check my tongue to make sure it is a migraine and not a stroke. Wow.
I don't
Okay.
take migraine medicine either. I don't tolerate meds at all, but I've tried migraine medicine, and they give me that crushing feeling like a building is falling on me and I freak out, and it's stuck in my body and I have to deal with it until my body lets it go. So I just ride. I just roll with it. I roll with the migraine.
Oh my
But
gosh.
those are bad drugs too.
Whitney's agreeing with Gail. She says, so true, Gail. Staying grateful helps us keep going.
Mm.
And she says, that's interesting to Laura. And then Laura says, thank you for clarifying my pain statement, Katie. Yes, pain in the form of a headache or maybe jaw pain. The problem is that we expect pain to be different for a stroke, and sadly, it feels like so many other conditions
Yep.
we as women discuss.
Yep.
Ooh, wow. Okay. This is super fascinating. This is a
Yeah,
super
Emperor Pain
fascinating
sort of.
go along with the Empire of Pain. Wow.
Yep.
Thank you, Whitney. And Laura says, thank you, Johnny Boy, for the book recommendation. I will check into it.
You will
So,
love it.
if you want to connect with Jonathan, his name is Jonathan MacDonald. I have tagged him in this post.
Okay.
Bugger.
Oh, I
Okay.
know, but listen, my computer's called Johnny Boy, my phone's called Johnny
Okay.
Boy. I'm gonna hang on to my younger. I'm 51 now, so I'm in full midlife crisis. So
But you're
Johnny Boy,
awesome. But thank you guys for being here. What an amazing episode. I do have a meeting in 5 minutes.
Oh my god.
right? Let's
Okay,
go.
bye.
Realize
Yeah,
what
bye.
no, it's
Bye.
good. But thank you for being here. You are awesome. Have an amazing weekend. And if you're watching, be blessed. See you next week. Take care for now.
Take care. Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
Bye.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Woo. Oh, there goes Jonathan. Katie, I'll see you soon. Be
Okay,
blessed.
bye.
Bye.